It's my great pleasure to partner this morning with Supervisor Ron Roberts on our first agenda item to bring critical fire safety upgrades to the High Performance Wireless Research and Education Network, acronym that will be called HPWREN from this point forward. Over the past decade, this Board of Supervisors has worked diligently and successfully to improve our region's firefighting capabilities and response. And this board continues to strive to make San Diego the most resilient region in the nation by embracing new technology. Today's actions will authorize the County of San Diego to acquire critical upgrades to the HPWREN telemetry equipment and provide additional hazard detection coverage through new cameras at 5 high-priority locations. These investments will bolster our emergency response capabilities and further the county's commitment to providing regional leadership on fire preparedness. I would like to commend my colleague, Supervisor Ron Roberts, who has championed the county's close relationship with Scripps, Oceanography, and UCSD's Institute for Telecommunications and Information Technology to leverage technology to increase public safety. At this time, I will turn it over to Supervisor Ron Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We've come a long way, and I think for many of the supervisors, they can fully appreciate that. And a lot of the things we do are not visible. And I think in this instance, this may be one of them. But it's clear that recently our major emergencies are coming from wildfires. They're devastating, they're unpredictable, they're very hard to deal with. This effort today really represents the latest in a continuing effort towards increased fire safety and response championed by the county following both the 2003 and the 2007 fires. So this is a continuum of things and changes that have been made. To date, the county's invested over $460 million in the prevention and the response to wildfires in San Diego County. And as we saw with the lilac fires, these wildfires can grow extremely fast, and it's critical. I just have to emphasize, it's absolutely critical that our firefighters have the tools to get the information about what is happening on the ground and to be able to make informed decisions to save both property and lives. Now, Supervisor Horn is our combat-tested veteran here, and I think he would share with me, when you're in a battle, information and communications are essential to making good decisions, and in his case, firing the artillery in the right direction. But it's just as important for our firefighters. And we've seen in the past what happens when they don't have that information. In 2007, I'll never forget visiting the 4 severely burned firefighters at the UCSD Burn Center, the medical center. And I had decided then we were going to make some major changes with new technologies that nobody else was doing, that we decided that we would introduce. Well, we've been a leader in leveraging technology to enhance real-time situational awareness and allow for the coordination of resources through systems, number of systems that not only include HPWREN, but also what we called originally NICS. Now the state is relabeled as SCOUT, I believe, which is basically a incident management tool that goes way beyond what we were doing just several years ago. And we also have ASAPnet. So we've got 3 major systems that didn't exist now that are operating. And today, Chairwoman Gaspar and I are asking this board to approve about $437,000 to keep the technology on our HPWREN system current. Now, what does that all mean? Shortly, the staff's going to be showing us some footage that I think is going to be very revealing to some of the people that for all this technology stuff may be, a bit confusing and overbearing. But it's from the lilac fire, and it will share how real-time information helped in the response in this most recent incident. The board has previously approved requests I brought forward in 2010 and 2012 to enhance the capabilities of the HPWREN system. It was to expand the camera network, to purchase additional aerial cameras, to support information sharing capabilities. All these things have been building this system in a far more robust way. And today, the actions before this board really focus on improving two elements of the HPWREN system. The first is upgrading the backbone high-speed network that connects 60 fire stations in the backcountry. We're upgrading from 45 megabits a second to 500 megabits a second. This is an enormous improvement in the communication. This also will allow for the deployment of more cameras and provide better coverage of San Diego County. And when I say cameras, these are cameras that are on duty to help us to be able to ascertain early on when there is a problem, and then how do we respond. Second, if approved, the funding would support the installation of cameras at 5 new high-priority sites, including Cowles Mountain, Sierra Rojo, Cuyamaca, North Peak, and White Star. Some of these I don't even know where they are, but they're out there, and they've been selected by our experts in terms of where do we need, what high points can we locate cameras on. I want to thank our partners at UCSD Scripps Institution of Oceanography who have been in this with us for a long time, including the Vice Chancellor of Research, Sandra Brown, and her staff who are joining us here today. Sandra, thank you for your efforts. You're going to get to speak in just a moment. And I also, though, I want to acknowledge SDG&E as a regional partner in promoting fire safety through strategic investments over the years, including the ongoing funding of the air crane, which is a high-capacity helicopter way beyond anything we have, and developing an important part of this system, which is basically a weather monitoring system that's been placed strategically in the rural areas, so we know the microclimate and especially the wind direction and other things that are taking place that gets all channeled into our network here. And also for funding the HPWREN system in 2013 to cover those 60 stations up to 15, and most recently their purchase of 15 new high-definition 360-degree cameras for the HPWREN system. So I didn't want that to go unnoticed, and I see Joe here. And Joe, thank you on behalf of the board. Lastly, I'd like to share that Chief Brian Fennessy couldn't be here today, Chief Mitchum, but I can tell you he's very, very supportive of this, and all of us communicate often, and so he wanted me to mention that. So with all of these things, I want to make a motion to support this item and for us to move forward as we have and to allow the testimony of all the speakers.
Thank you. I'd be happy to second that motion and introduce to you at this time Ron Lane, who'll be providing a brief staff report because Supervisor did an excellent job covering the items, so maybe there's no need.
We can go real quick. The Chief has a few things. Chairwoman Gaspar and members of the board, the HPWREN network is a valuable resource in our ability to detect and respond to wildland fires as it provides interconnectivity to our backcountry fire stations as well as a comprehensive camera network throughout our backcountry. As a perfect example, I was personally in the county's Emergency Operations Center when the Lilac Fire broke out, and thanks to HPWREN network, we had instantaneous visibility of the fire, which assisted in emergency decision-making and regarding evacuations and our decision to send out emergency alerts. I will now turn it over to Chief Meacham to provide a few comments.
Well, good morning, Supervisors. Always an honor to be here. You know, we protect a very difficult service area, 1.5 million acres within the Fire Authority, but over 2.4 million acres where we're responsible for wildland fire protection. These are very remote rural areas that are very difficult to serve. And while I'm going to talk about the cameras, I think for my perspective as the fire chief, the most important element of this is the data backbone. We have been able to unite over 61 fire stations, which is all of our fire stations, the United States Forest Service, and many of our partners for data. Every 911 call that we receive is pushed out through the HPWREN network to printers at fire stations. 33,160 times last year through that rip and run system, our firefighters had a printout of the location and the type of call that they were going to. We've been able to do innovative things such as very high bandwidth video training of our firefighters and paramedics. It is very difficult to do fire training from Otay Mesa to Ocotillo Wells to Duluth, and we've been able to unify and connect our system with that. But the greatest event is that we have 85 cameras on 23 sites. 19 of those, our dispatchers have the ability to point and zoom. So what I'd like to do is we're going to walk you through a very short video segment of the Lilac Fire, and I'll talk about a few of the benefits that we get from these cameras. So as you know, the Lilac Fire started under red flag conditions. This was the longest red flag Santa Ana event we've had in California history. It lasted over 13 days. When the Lilac Fire kicked off, there was many other fires burning around the county. And you can see in that lower right-hand column, we were able to look at the smoke column, we were able to see the winds, and we knew with just a few minutes that we were going to have a major incident. One of the views we did not show you today was from another camera that we actually pointed and zoomed. We visualized from our dispatch center when that fire crossed Old Highway 395, and we committed a massive response of over 50 additional fire engines based on what we were seeing. Some of the other benefits that you don't see here is why we were focused on the Lilac Fire. At night, we're even able to see this and make decisions on is it worth the risk to fly the aircraft at night, which we did. But while this was going on, our dispatchers were monitoring cameras across the rest of the county as we received 911 reports and able to determine that we did not have other large fires or any other incidents. So we felt very comfortable that as we pulled resources from throughout the county to the Lilac Fire, we weren't leaving other communities unprotected. So I think there's two values. The supervisor spoke very well, but the camera and the increase is certainly going to enhance our fire abilities. But I really need to stress it is that data backbone that we use every day that's critical. And with that, I will turn it back to Ron Lane. Thank you.
Madam Chair, that concludes staff presentation.
That was quick. Very good. And now I'd like to invite forward our partners at UCSD, who we're very proud of as well. Please come forward.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Sandra Brown. I'm the Vice Chancellor for Research at UC San Diego, and I would like to thank the supervisors and all of our county partners for their very long-standing and critical relationships with and partnerships with UC San Diego. HPWREN, or AlertSoCal, program that's discussed this morning, I think is an excellent example of that partnership. The value to the region, and how we support the safety of our community members. I'd like to thank Chairwoman Gaspar and Supervisor Roberts for their leadership in this proposed action today to enhance San Diego's response and resiliency to the fire hazards. Now I'd like to introduce quickly my colleague Frank Vernon, who is a research scientist and the principal investigator for this overall program at UC San Diego. Frank?
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chancellor Brown. I am Frank Vernon, and I am the principal investigator on the HPWREN project, and have been associated with it since 2001 when we started. I am also a person who has had a personal experience in the 2003 fire, so I'm pretty passionate about making sure we have the tools and capabilities to move forward with this. I want to thank the San Diego County Board of Supervisors for all the support they've given us over the years, and I'd like to call out in particular Adrian Granda and Tim McLean of Supervisor Roberts' office, and Christy Knight from the Supervisor Gaspar's office for all their help in making this project go forward. I would also like to acknowledge the help of San Diego Gas and Electric and all the help they've given us over the years, but on the ASAPnet and the continuing support, as well as the provision of the pan-tilt zoom cameras that we installed, which Chief Meacham was showing you now, and we intend to move out into the existing infrastructure into the new sites. And so it's a new technology, new capability, and we will be trying to push forward to provide better coverage into underserved regions of the county and make this project as successful as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Frank. Appreciate you being here this morning. I do think we have one member of the public wishing to address the board as well.
I'd like to invite forward Joe Gabaldon. You'll have 3 minutes to address the board.
Good morning, Chairwoman Gaspar and board. My name is Joe Gabaldon. I'm Public Affairs Manager for San Diego Gas and Electric. Over the last 10 years, SDG&E has partnered with local agencies to provide enhanced public safety programs and technology for the region. Today's item will provide a continued protection and early This is a tongue twister. Today's item provides the continued protection and early detection that our region needs. We are committed to supporting the county, and we've had and provided the local fire agencies with a number of great resources to help them do their job in protecting the community, including the SDG&E Weather Network. That includes 170 cameras in remote locations that we can get real-time information for not only the folks who are using it on the back end, but as well as available to the public. And I think that's important at this time so that folks can see what's going on from the internet, via the internet, excuse me. This network, the HPWREN network, is going to provide real-time data on high winds and weather system provides real-time data on high winds and extreme heat for utility workers, public safety agencies, and the National Weather Service. The advanced technology creates opportunities for collaboration with local and national weather agencies, universities like USD, and first responders, as well as informing the public. As many of you recall, in 2007, it would take up to, as you may recall, in 2007, it may take up to 24 hours to map a fire line. Now it's instantaneous with this camera network. And I think that when you look at state-of-the-art networks, when you have these great cameras, one of the things that's going to be supported with this item is by beefing up the bandwidth, the network in between the size of the pipe. And this is very strategic and a well-thought-out decision, as well as adding 5 more cameras. All of this is available to the general public via our SDG&E alert camera system that's available, again, to the public. And it was during my shift at the EOC, the county's EOC, during the red flag warnings, it was pleased to see not only the data that was available to staff, but also these 2 resources that are provided by the company that's not only available for fire agency and OES personnel, but it's also available to the public. And it was really exciting to see that in action, how it all kind of worked together. So in any case, SDG&E is committed today and in the future continuing to be a public safety partner with the County of San Diego. We urge your support for today's item. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vice Chairwoman Jacob.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I wholeheartedly support this item, and I want to thank the Chairwoman and my colleague Supervisor Roberts for bringing this forward. Extremely critical, particularly for our backcountry area where most of these wildfires start. And to you again, Chief Meacham, for your leadership in being our chief for the San Diego County Fire Authority and all of the team that's been involved. When you talk about critical upgrades to over 180 fire detection cameras throughout the region, that's really a big deal. And I want to also thank the partners, UCSD, and I'm going to thank even SDG&E. This is one of the good things that SDG&E has done. Joe, take that back to your bosses, please, from me. Anyway, this is really a good thing and really enhances. And my last comment, Supervisor Roberts, I remember a few years ago, I'm going to call you Techie Ron. because you were the one that really worked with UCSD and others to bring this technology to the county in terms of our firefighting efforts, you know, getting a handle on it real time in order to fight these fires. So I want to thank you for that, too.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Thank you. Well, we're in good hands between our public safety personnel, our community partners, and the leadership of this board with the continuous commitment to making investments in technology to make San Diego safer. I want to thank all of you this morning. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Let's vote.
Chairwoman Gaspar, that motion is approved unanimously with all board members being present and voting aye.